to what it is we're doing. And a lot of people look at that as a detraction. Hey, I'm the one who's, paying Facebook. These are my ads. I'm the one who's paying Facebook. I should be able to tell Facebook who I want to acquire in terms of leads. But again, the commodity on Facebook isn't the ads. How Facebook makes money, sure, it's through the ads.
How's everyone doing?
Hello, everybody. So, hey, I encourage everybody, if you have the ability to turn on your video.
But the problem with this...
Turn on your video. We want to see you. We want to hear from you. Some of you have some previous experience with StreetText, others not. That's cool. We're going to talk all about the top of funnel today and where the conversation begins.
We don't care, we're humans, so your hair don't need to be done. We understand the nature of the business. You might not even have changed out of your pajamas yet. Just show up how you need to show up today. So get your cameras on. Elmer's looking fine.
Yeah.
That's looking fine.
Ira and I, we have 4 kids, both of us, and my 2-year-old the other day, I'm trying to break him off of his, using bottles. I don't want him to use bottles anymore, and he didn't like the thought of me taking his bottle away, so he just decided to claw me. He gave me a nice little scratch right over the forehead, so this is why I'm wearing the hat right now. So
beat up by the 4-year-old.
Throw on the hat if you're having a bad hair day. All right, we'll get started in just a few minutes here. John, if you want to begin telling us what do you want to focus on as far as the conversation is concerned today? Like drive this conversation. How would you like it to begin?
Recording in progress.
So Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin, he started with the Virgin Records. One thing that he did whenever he would choose a location for one of his shops, as you know, his business grew really well. Like it did really well. He would actually walk the streets of London, and he would look at and he would count how many people would walk the different streets before he chose his location. And the key there that he learned, like right from day one, which is a huge success principle, is he figured out that you got to be where your market is. Like the first part of the battle is, if you want to do really well with your marketing, find the busiest street. So what's the busiest street today that you can put your marketing in that will cause the top of funnel leads to come to you, so you are already winning the battle on step number 1?
TikTok.
Well, TikTok is app number 20. Did you know that? Like it's in the 20th position. So that means there's 19 other apps that got more foot traffic than TikTok. So I love TikTok. TikTok's awesome. We do a lot of marketing on TikTok. TikTok's a lot of fun. But is it going to drive you the quantity and quality of conversations that you're looking for? Or is it more of a, like, kind of have fun with it, play with it, build your brand there? But is that going to get you the Virgin Records level of success? Not according to Richard. He would actually walk a different street. So the top 4 apps today, we know number 1, still in number 1 spot, is Facebook and Instagram. Number 2 is Google. Number 3 is YouTube. So if you're in those 3 places, or 4 places, you're in front of the entire audience. So that's really critical. So I think number 1 is starting with that conversation. It's like, where's the demand of marketing coming from? Where are people? And then number 2, how are you taking advantage of that? What's your strategy to actually take eyeballs and convert them into raised hands, raised people, and then all the way through to conversations and appointments booked today, so that you can actually do business with that person and close that deal tomorrow? So I think that's going to be the theme today is what are the strategies that working for you? And a mastermind is a all hands on deck. So you can bring your questions. If you've tried something really creative and cool, maybe if it's even out there, it's sort of like popcorn style and you want to share it, maybe it's a win you've had. Let's talk about that as well. And we're very comfortable when topics kind of go here and there. But at the same time, at the end of this session, we really want to dive deep into what's creating the leads that are creating the outcomes that you're ideally looking for in your business. So back to you, Marcus.
Well, I mean, if anybody has anything to say on that, feel free to unmute yourself or just has questions based on what John was talking about. But I will tell you that there's 11 different marketing objectives on Facebook. And so even though they're number one, a lot of people get lost in what we call the labyrinth of confusion and frustration, which is Facebook, especially as they inevitably always change it on you. Their algorithms are always shifting and changing. So there is something to be said about knowing how to get in front of those people that you want to. Are you going after them as far as reach and brand is concerned? Are you using objectives like lead ads to go after name, phone numbers, and emails? You know, what about the conversion side, traffic, page post, all that stuff? How do you know where to begin is number one. And then number two is learning how to tap into that audience that you want to get in front of, and kind of having just some background on what the rules that you have to follow are with Facebook and Instagram. One of those hopefully you're all aware of at this point is that 15-mile minimum radius. You know, I get it. You guys want the zip codes. You know what I mean? I get it. You want the neighborhoods and the towns and the areas that you really want to focus on. But there is ways to get after that. But it begins with understanding that there's this quadrant of lead generation that you got to focus on. And 70% of that equation, if I'm calling a quadrant, I'm talking about 4 pillars, 4 principles that if you really follow, you can open up the floodgates of lead gen. And if you follow that, the 70% of that, and I'll show you a slide, is going to be the ad image. And one of those things you got to make sure that you use when you're opening up that floodgates is an image that is local and organic to your market.
So here, I just want to jump in on that right now, talk about the image. Here's something crazy. Facebook, they've been working with a lot of different brands over the last 3 years. And what they found is that the right image can not just double, but triple the number of leads you get from your ad. That's huge, right? That's a big increase. So when you get the right image on your ad, it makes a really big difference, which is why we care so much about what that image is. And so you can go from paying, maybe $25 a lead, increase it 3 times. You've brought it down to basically $8 a lead. You could be paying $8 a lead and bring it down 3 times. Now you're down to that $3, $2.50 a lead. Like, isn't that awesome? Just by changing the image that you're using. So I just wanted to put that in context. But Marcus, you maybe walk through the strategy of what kind of creative is crushing it on Facebook right now.
Yeah, I mean, unless anybody has questions. So this is a mastermind. This is not us just doing a webinar and teaching you. This is really supposed to be informal. So unmute yourself. We're glad you're here. It's kind of somewhat intimate here, right? So, don't feel like there's a bad question or a comment or anything. Just go ahead and unmute yourself and ask. Because we want to make sure that you come out of this feeling, awesome. Hey, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to open up those floodgates. And then as we move into the conversation ready aspect of this, it's one thing to generate a lead, another thing to make sure that that lead wants to talk to you and is going to talk to you.
Marcus,
right?
I have a question. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no. Hey, Janine, do you have any question?
I do. I didn't even realize I was unmuted. Good thing you said that. So new to resale, trying to learn. I know if somebody has a listing, we need to get permission to ask to market their property. Or if you're an EXP agent, you can do that. I'm not sure. I'm just thinking if these people pay professional photographers to photograph the homes, once it closes escrow, can we take that image off the MLS and use it? Probably.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, that's
these
what I
photos, in most cases, these photos are copyrighted by the photographer. So believe me, having been involved in a couple of lawsuits over use of my listings photography, no, without permission from the photographer, it's a slippery slope.
Okay, I thought so. I just thought
the first part of that as well, Janine, I'm a big believer, like for me, all the brokerages I worked in, there was a bit of a handshake agreement, whatever you want to call it, that, hey, if somebody has a listing, we can go ahead and just promote it. I still, as a rule, for myself, I always ask for permission. The likelihood of somebody saying, no, you can't advertise my listing is incredibly low, but it's their decision to make. It is their photography, it's their everything. So again, I always just say, I'm looking for some buyers. Do you mind if I take your listing at 123 Maple Street and advertise the crap out of it? Very much, it's much like you're running an open house for them, right?
Okay.
Like again, I can't tell you how many times I had other people running my open houses because I just didn't have the time to do so. The benefit to me is more exposure, more foot traffic in that property. I'm doing my clients a service, where the benefit to the agent who's, boots on the ground in that home, they get the buyers that might come through that aren't,
Right.
represented already by another agent. But always, always, always ask for permission. And then again, the materials that belong to that listing and belong to that agent belong to that agent. So
And
if
I
you
was
were to ask,
thinking of just taking my iPhone and running around the neighborhood of gorgeous homes where I live and just taking up images.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
and
the
I was
thing-
going to speak to that when we are talking about images. Is we get lost and think that we always have to have ad looking like images. That's where when you're on Facebook, how many ads do you notice? Not a whole lot, because you're not looking for them. You scroll past them. Like, social media is social. So what we typically do is we replicate the marketing that other real estate agents are doing in our area, so that we can meet more marketers in our area that are selling real estate. We meet more real estate agents. If you want real estate agents to click on your ad more, then make your ad look more like an ad. But if you want a local to look at your ad more, take a picture with your iPhone, because what does that look like? That looks like something my friend posted, right?
Okay, thank you.
Like, more organic, like the more it looks less like an ad, the more it looks like it's something that I'm going to click on. And then we see that all the time as people, we always go to stock photos, and stock photos don't look as good. They look polished. We like them, but our people on our feed don't.
Yeah, and just to quickly double down on that, and then Elmer, looks like you had something you wanted to add as well. Make sure that you get you in here next. Image is everything, and I know we've already said it a couple times already, but for any of you guys who've been coming to the ads classes or have been seeing me or any of the other guys on, the daily sessions, image is everything. And anytime somebody's coming to us with ads that aren't working, quite often it's noticeably an ad. That's something I see quite frequently. The map imagery still works in certain locations. It doesn't work so well in other locations. And the reason for that is, in my opinion, it kind of looks like an ad. So as Ira was saying, you have to understand you're talking to the brain before the eyes. The eyes don't know what they're looking at yet. It's the brain's deciphering it. So you want that stop ability. As people are scrolling, we need them to see something. It doesn't even necessarily need to pertain directly to real estate. It just needs to stop their scroll. It needs to be locally relevant. As they're going through, they go, hey, I recognize this, faces and places, whatever it might be. I recognize what I'm looking at. I should investigate further. Never have I ever heard anybody scanning the copy. People don't go through looking for creative copy. That's absolutely the last thing they're looking at. They're looking at the image 100% of the time. They see an image and they go, okay, what's happening here? If someone wanted to buy your home, would you sell it? Well, I don't even own a home. Great, keep scrolling, but you've stopped another individual, right? The ones who don't own the properties are considerably less likely to take you up on your offer. You do need to have some decent verbiage in there, fair, but your image absolutely needs to sit at the forefront of that. Elmer, you had put your hand down, but I know you had something you wanted to add. If you want to go ahead.
No, you basically answered Janine's question, because I actually just went through the same thing just recently, and I actually reached out to another agent here in my brokerage. But it's just all how you approach that conversation with them, bringing value to their listing versus just trying to utilize their image for your purpose and your win, right? So I reached out to them. I said, hey, look, I really want to utilize your listing pictures. Do you mind if I use it? It's going to bring you more buyers, going to bring you more attention. And he was like, oh my God, please go right for it. He only asked that if once it went spending or once it closed or sold, just make sure that I stop using it. But other than that, I mean, it's a good tool to use, and they're all good for it. So.
Yeah, and I mean 100%, right? I mean, it's in how you present it. So if you simply go and say, "Hey, you're listing at 123 Maple Street. That thing's amazing. Do you mind if I promote it?" Simple, right? Like what agent in their right mind is going to say no? I mean, and to be fair, it can happen. And again, it's their decision to make. So we always ask. And again, like I was saying, even if you're in EXP and there's kind of an initial agreement, if you will, I would still reach out to them and just say, hey, this is what I'm looking to do. And then the other thing that I'm seeing with these listing ads, as to the longevity of them, a lot of times people get a little bit nervous and turn them off a little bit soon, or a little bit too soon, I should say. Now, what I mean by that is, let's say you get the listing today, you put everything up there later this afternoon, tomorrow, whatever it is, you get an offer within a week. Okay, this is an interesting situation to be in, and the last thing we want to do is be the bait and switch individual in our area, of course. However, deals collapse, things happen. We've all been in real estate long enough that I'm sure you've either experienced it yourself or seen a colleague go through this. I personally have had, a deal collapse the day before keys were to exchange hands. It was an item outside of my control. There happened to be a forest fire, welcome to British Columbia, that caused some issues. Now, the home itself wasn't compromised. It was an outbuilding, but it was enough for them to get out of that deal. Well, luckily there were backup offers that were ready to go. The people who were originally offered did back out of the deal, but there was a backup offer that we had, we were ready to go. So we just simply called that individual, see if they really wanted to resubmit, yada, yada. You guys know the process, and we were good to go. So the way I'm looking at these ads is I get an offer with my first week. That's fine. It's not through escrow yet. Personally, I keep that ad going and I just make sure I reach out to those individuals and say, look, we do have an accepted offer on this property. However, right, tell me what it is that you liked about this specifically so I can set you up with a list of very similar properties. And if something were to happen with this, you'll be the first to know. Right. So just something to keep in mind as you guys are running these listing ads.
100% Logan, right now as well, because the market is so hot. I'm sure you're all seeing this. There are homes where people are getting into the bidding frenzy, but they're not qualified. So they're winning the bid. And then 1 month later, that home's back on the market because they weren't able to get the financing. So that's really important. And then the second part about that is if you find a listing that is crushing it because the creative is so relevant on Facebook, it's what people are looking for. Don't just stop it when the listing is now closed. Use that as your property list ad. Take that same listing that was getting so much buzz and say, figure out what the price point is like homes under XYZ, use that same image as the main creative because that's what people are looking for. And there are other homes in your market that are going to be very similar to that property. And so that's a really great way you can take the winning creative on Facebook, using your listing ads to test it, and then turning that into a property list ad to sort of grow your campaigns further.
Yeah, it comes back to that we always say test, don't guess. Like, are people like, do you think this image is going to work well? Do you think this is going to work well? Do you think this is going to work well? And you don't really know until you put it out there. And then within 24 to 48 hours, you're going to start to see, did it resonate? And we talk about our street texters are going to be very familiar with the fact that Facebook is switching up those unique audiences. So it's important to test the copy and the image with 3 identical ads, which people always get confused by, but it's because Facebook is constantly changing the audience that they're showing that ad to. So if you have 3 identical ads, you also have 3 different audiences. And Facebook, what do they care about? They're in the attention economy. They're selling you people's attention. They want their news feed full of addictive, scrolly stuff. So I'm on here forever. And if they just let any ad and any advertisement on there, soon my feed is going to be full of advertisements, not my friends, not the things I like, not the things I click on. So they're really looking to see if your ad generates engagement. And if it doesn't generate any engagement, they really try to deter you from using them by making it cost a whole lot of money and making your ad irrelevant. So it's really about how do you get people to engage. So first, like that image and that copy is so important, but then you got to test that image and copy like by identical ads. And within 24 to 48 hours, you're going to start to see which ads getting you the most traction, meaning which audience is getting you the most play. And that could be a very confusing concept. We simplify it. I think Jake in here has dropped the thing with a trial you could try. We simplify that process, but it's a game changer once you understand it. And then it's not about guesswork. It's about, this is working. I know it's working. Let's get to work. And I mean, Jeff, I did a little video yesterday on ROI, and getting to work with the right leads can get you somewhere because that all comes down to ROI. And TikTok being 20th on the list, I might become an amazing TikTok dancer and get 30,000 views on TikTok, but is it going to get ROI? Like my time is my most valuable asset. So it's really about what things are going to generate the most ROI. And we'd like to simplify that for everybody.
Yeah, and just real quick to double down on that, like understanding how Facebook works. The special housing ad category was Facebook actually making some significant improvements to what it is we're doing. And a lot of people look at that as a detraction. Hey, I'm the one who's, paying Facebook. These are my ads. I'm the one who's paying Facebook. I should be able to tell Facebook who I want to acquire in terms of leads. But again, the commodity on Facebook isn't the ads. How Facebook makes money, sure, it's through the ads. But if there was nobody left to see the ads, if there was nobody left to click on the ads, Facebook's going to lose their money. There's always going to be people willing to pay money and spend money on Facebook. That's fair. But if there's no more audience left to acquire that information, nobody's clicking on the ads. Facebook's not going to make any money. So that was the big thing that they changed, was instead of us or anybody being able to say, look, I want, guys or girls or, this age or that age or this or whatever, you do not get to select any of that anymore. The audience selects itself, right? That's something that's so incredibly important to understand. And that's exactly what I was mentioning, is you don't select your audience. The audience selects itself. So whenever you're doing your split tests, whenever you're running your ads, not only do you need to pay attention to the cost per result and everything like that, but have a good look at the demographic, because as those ads are running, the 72-hour audience that it acquires is the long-term audience it's going to keep going after. Right. So that's, again, for anybody who's new to the concept of split testing. And I know I've seen a ton of familiar faces on here, so I'm sure you know exactly what we're talking about. But if you're unaware of the concept of split testing, it's one of the most radical changes that you'll employ. And again, regardless of whether you build your ads on StreetText, you do this yourself through Facebook, doesn't matter. Whenever you want one ad running long term, always build at least 3, let them compete for a short period of time. The audience, again, will set themselves. The ads are identical to our eyes, but they're an ad ID to Facebook, meaning they're completely different and unique and, beholden to their own test audience and how they perform.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So basically, to simplify what Logan just said, Facebook uses machine learning to know, like, let's say we're all the audience of Facebook right now. We're all going to have different things that we're interested in, but we all find this relevant. So Facebook's going to say, okay, what is it about this ad that is relevant to other people who are clicking and liking and engaging on this ad? And so the machine learning algorithm on that component is taking the data it's getting back from the clicks and back from the conversions, and it's using that to better identify who it wants to show that ad to. Now, the way you can help that algorithm win is exactly what Logan said. It's 2 things. Number one, you want to start with a really broad audience. Don't make the audience too narrow to stop, because your winning audience may actually be outside of that. You just don't know it. And the number 2 part that's really important is you want to, when you create an ad, you don't just create one ad set, and one campaign. You want to create at least 3 ad sets, campaigns, and ads, each unique, because each one of those is going to tap into a different first few people that click on that ad. And the person that clicks on the ad that is closest to your area that you want to work in, that's the ad that you want, that has high relevancy, which is what Ira was talking about on the creative side. If it scores with high relevancy on the creative and it's in the area you want, your cost per lead for the right area will go way down. And so you'll know in 72 hours to 7 days which of those ads is winning, and you just turn off the other 2 that aren't. And you're now going to have an ad that is crushing it, getting you the right leads in the right area for the right price that you want to work. And that's a huge win right there. Like that is, so what, like Logan was saying, like when you understand the concept of split testing, what you're doing is you're tapping into Facebook's machine learning algorithm and you're getting it to work on your behalf. You're getting it to bring in more and more of the people that you really want to work on. But like you can even, I won't get into the technical side, but you can even get it so that if you want more people with phone numbers, you can actually get the audience algorithm to bring you more people with phone numbers. If you want to get more people in a certain location, you can get that to work too through split testing. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And so it's once you know the winning creative, the next question becomes who's the winning audience? And that's the big component there.
Awesome. Who wants to see some examples? Cool. And if you have no concept of split testing or any of this, write that in the chat. We'd love to know, because sometimes you just got to learn through repetition. And I'm just going to show you a quick slide here.
Marcus, I'm new here. This is my first time with you guys. And the first 10 minutes, you guys are already like, you got my attention. When do y'all start doing these ad classes? Like, where could I participate in one to learn more?
Cool. Are you a StreetText member, or do you have it? Start with the trial? The trial.
No, but I did click the trial. Yeah, I did click the trial.
Perfect.
So
yeah, and so there'll be a guy that reaches out to you and sets you up, and you'll take it like it's. And Jeff will tell you, and anybody who is a StreetText member, it's an onion. You start with the layer of ad performance, and then you quickly realize, we're like, wow, lead flow is not my issue. The new problem is, what do I do with these leads? And then it becomes that byproduct of automations, integrations, follow-up, scripts, strategies, really collaboration with a community that's going to help you win. So you don't have to make the same mistakes that they did. You learn from them, quickly realize what's the way to go. And you'll start realizing that it's beautiful and what it can do as far as ROI is concerned, but there is a process along the way. And it starts with shifting your mindset from the understanding that this is top of funnel, which means, unlike, let's say, Google or Zillow or any of those bottom of funnel where people are actively searching for your services, for a home, these are people that are just randomly scrolling on Facebook today and Instagram. So they weren't there looking for you. So you use the concept we call digital door knocking or interruption-based marketing, which caused them to stop that scroll to click. So as we're going back to what I'm about to show you, the quadrant of lead generation, it starts with psychologically thinking, what stops that scroll for that moment? And it's not the video that does it. The video is perfect for retargeting, remarketing. It's the static imagery that begins everything. And that static image that's organic and native to their market stops the scroll long enough for them to read the text copy, which is second in that equation. And then the byproduct, as everybody was talking about, the other two pieces of that quadrant are the split testing and the A/B testing. And A/B testing could be as simple as just changing out images to see which image hits that audience best.
And Marcus, before you move on to that, just let me show something really quickly if I can. Let me see if I can share my screen. Awesome. Okay, so Selena, as a part of your other question was kind of like, when are the ads classes? How can you get help with everything? So the first step is absolutely come in, sign up for your trial, get all that started. And then for anybody else, we noticed that everybody needs a slight, boost in a slightly different direction. Some people need a lot more help on the conversion side. Some people need help, setting up ads. Some people need help setting up the domain. There's always something that you're going to need a little bit of help with. So there's no shortage of assistance that we have here through the StreetText Academy, where it's a bunch of self-serve options and videos and things for you to kind of do at your own discretion and leisure. The Help Center, which is kind of more a frequently asked questions section, you ask it questions and it's going to give you, reports and different ideas as to how to answer your question. Book a class here. If you come into this section here, you'll see we have a little bit of everything. So again, if you're looking for more help in terms of, I don't know these metrics, I'm not sure what I'm looking at for these ads, my ads aren't working, I don't know if these ads are working, whatever the case may be, you can come to the ad help and performance review, and you can see that just clicking on that button. These are all the daily sessions, right? So Monday to Friday, there's at least one session every single day that's, team specific, and anybody can jump on at any given time. On top of those classes, each and every single guide has their own daily, workshops that you can jump on as well. So again, whether you're looking for a little bit of smaller group or you are liking kind of like this, the bigger group where you get a little bit more collaboration, which to me, I think is ideal. These opportunities are definitely not few and far between. You want help, setting up your automations. Well, Ira runs an automations class to help with that. You don't see a template here that you like the looks of. Now, after you're a full member, of course, you can come to the Custom Ads Workshop, which runs every Wednesday now. So we can spitball ideas, build new ads, test new ideas. And once something works, we template that in there. But then the most important one in my eyes is basically, this is one of our masterminds, but the Wednesday mastermind, which is an every week kind of deal. It's one of those that I would think it's a non-negotiable. If you can make it, you should absolutely make it. And if you can't, I would then recommend coming in here and going to the mastermind recordings, watching some of that, because again, most of us guides here have some pretty good information, I'm going to say, but most of that has come from the community. So the benefit is, I haven't missed a mastermind in a long time. And I just simply sit there and absorb and hear from all of you guys and the wonderful ideas that you have. We then in turn take it and practice whatever it is, try new ads, try all sorts of stuff, bring that information back to the community. And that's something that's incredibly important to us, is the aspect of community and the ability, again, to come to any of these classes and get the help you need when you need it.
Yeah, no, that's great. And the other thing I would add on to that is I'm new, I'm a beginner gardener. I'm like just learning. And so literally yesterday I saw a YouTube video pop up and it said 5 tips for beginner gardeners. And I was like, oh, that's me. I'm just starting. And tip number 1, they said, was start small. They said, get an easy win. So basically make a pot and get a plant growing in the pot. And that would be like your first win. And because like success breeds success. Wins create momentum. So when you start with StreetText, there is a lot to learn, but the 2 things there that's really important. Number 1, when you start a trial, join one of the classes. Number 2, go to the mastermind. You're going to learn a lot, but don't worry, you don't have to do it all. Start small. Your first win will be to get an ad that gets leads. That's a huge win. Amazing, right? And so start with that, and then win number 2 will come just right after, and win number 3 and win number 4. So start small.
It's good. Yeah, I mean, I've heard in the back, like, in previous, we've been doing this for 7+ years now, and people are like, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming. I'm like, yeah, but just as John was saying, start small, because you're going to realize you can't just reach the top. You can't just go to the place of this person who had 70 deals from Facebook and StreetText last year. You didn't see the journey for them to get there. And even with all these cool follow-up techniques and strategies and integrations, you'll start realizing, wow, there's a lot of cool stuff out there. Where do I even begin? What do I choose? That's what you rely on the community for, because you don't have to waste your time searching out for it. It's obvious that if you're working seller leads, for example, and you're in the United States, the most common thing you're going to be looking at is BombBomb as far as video automations are concerned, and something like HomeBot. And you'll quickly realize after you watch a few trainings why that is. Simple things like that. But in the beginning, don't feel like, oh my gosh, I got to get BombBomb, I got to get HomeBot, I got to do this, that, and this. Then you're obviously going to feel overwhelmed, and you're going to just, it's going to stop you in your tracks. So yeah, John's right. Start with just being like, wow, leads. I like leads. And then realize that those leads are a byproduct of your ability to create unique, authentic conversation with them. And the only way to do that is to be face-to-face, because they need to, I think we overlook, and Ira, you did a great presentation on that. Rapport is everything. Know, like, and trust. Know and like is everything. People want to know and like you before they just trust you. So they need to experience you and your personality, and you need to have a unique, like, authentic conversation first. It doesn't even have to be about their home or what they're looking for. And people overlook that. That's basic, winning friends and influencing people psychology stuff. That relationship-focused model is what wins every single time.
Yeah, I always think Jeff Bass, I'm going to pick on you, brings it home, because he talks about your problem should not be getting the lead. Your problem should be, how do I grow my business by growing rapport with people that didn't know me and they clicked on an ad? And if you're going to do that, like, how long is that going to take? And Jeff always comes on to our masterminds. I'm going to have him do it right now. And he just puts a time frame on that. That's so important. So yeah, Jeff, I saw you shut your door. I appreciate that. Can you kind of speak to, like, time frame that's reasonable and kind of understanding how to make this work?
Yeah, and thanks, Ira, for the tip of the cap. But I don't think that you can put, these are top of funnel leads. I don't think you can put time frames on them. Most of my conversions have been anywhere from the 4 to 6 month period of being in my system, in my drips, in my flows. So, and you hear these stories about these StreetTexters that get a lead that get a listing with their first lead, and that's unicorn stuff. That's great. I'm happy for them, but I think that sets an unrealistic expectation for a lot of the newbies that come on here. that, see all these leads coming into their pipeline and figure, well, I've got 20 leads. That's got to be a listing. Again, I don't think you can emphasize enough the fact that these are long-term leads and they require nurturing. And to Marcus's earlier point and to yours, Ira, a lot of this nurturing and a lot of this getting face-to-face isn't necessarily picking up the phone and calling them every week. I think the integration with BombBomb videos in our touches is crucial, because that's another way that they can see us, see who we are, see what we do without being too intrusive. They've got the option of taking a look at the video or not. But clearly if they do, and we are notified when they look at our video, if they do, clearly there's some interest there. And for me, that just puts them into a different action plan. So the systems are key, but to your point, Ira, yeah, it's important to understand that you can't put a time frame on these things. You just have to stick with your system, stick with your touches, and you'll reap the rewards at some point. Don't give up. Don't get discouraged after a month in because you don't have a listing. That's just not what these leads are. Most of them, as Marcus says, it's interruption-based marketing. Is these guys aren't clicking on your ad because they're ready to list. They're clicking on your ad because they're curious. And curious takes a while to nurture.
Yeah, and I speak to that all. I had somebody that was in trial. She's been with StreetText for about 2 weeks. She got a $1.3 million listing and a $600,000 listing in 2 weeks. And she's in LA, Jeff.
I hate that
so she's
shit.
Yeah, I know. Jeff's always like, come on. And I said to her, it's like the unicorn. You landed on the person who was ready. You just happened to be there when they clicked. But to her credit, one of those was an address only submission. The person had just put their address in, and she did her script, chased it down. And then when I got to talking to her, I'm like, oh, she has a very long-term mindset anyways. She's like, I do 7 touch points. I do them across 30 days. And she had systems in place that she had plugged them into. So I always warn people, if you landed on, I had somebody, they got a $1.3 million listing in their trial, another person. And I always warn them, if you think it's going to be that easy, everybody would be doing real estate and staying in real estate. There wouldn't be the dropout rate like there is. It's really about, you land on those unicorns and they might propel you, but I think it's almost better to be in pain for 3 months, learning the skills that it takes to have a real estate career, not just to have a real estate moment where you listed a couple of houses, but to have a funnel and a career built out.
Yeah, and Ira, to your point, I think if you land that unicorn early in your StreetText career, you're going to get lazy with your systems and your processes, thinking they're all going to be that easy, that you don't need to nurture them. So I think there's a false sense of security in getting those listings early on in the process. So you're right, you do have to suffer, and you do have to grind it out a little bit.
I love that. I love the metaphor that I like everybody, because I'm a huge football fan, is you could be getting lucky by catching a Hail Mary pass. And that Hail Mary pass, if anyone doesn't know football, is that one pass is a desperate pass that you just throw up in the air, and whoever jumps up and catches it gets that listing per se. Anybody can get lucky. But what StreetText is, it's almost like, okay, I've given you the ball. Now you have 95 yards to get down the field. And that has a lot more to do as a byproduct of your own follow-up and skill set to create a unique conversation to get the ball into the end zone. But I've given you the ball before anybody else. No other realtor has that opportunity. You have the ball in your hands, but can you keep that ball and take it into the end zone? And that has everything to do with your follow-up and the way you make that person feel, which is often overlooked. So this is where you start seeing inside the community an example of people that are really good at doing that. And it gets you excited, because really that at the end of the day, that's what most important. When you look back a year from now and maybe you have 1,000+ leads in your database from Facebook, from StreetText, you can easily have a percentage of those converted, but who just wants to be a percentage person? I think where it gets really exciting is when you start seeing people doing double digit and start seeing that there's a skill set inside of that they have learned over time. And there's plenty of examples of that. So this is the collaborative nature of the community, is that we just share everything from top to bottom, from people that have ISAs and VAs and you know, the ability to do that to people that are doing everything on their own. And that's okay too, because you have to wear so many of those hats in the beginning, but there's steps along the way inside of that, and you can always, you know, rely on the community to figure out which is best for you and who resonates more with you, and then eventually you'll make it your own, because you know, you can't copy anybody. You know, what do we say, Jeff? Rip off and duplicate.
R&D, baby, R&D.
R&D, baby. Yeah, and that's.
And let me tell you, I reached out to Jeff about some buyer stuff he had, and he was like, "Go for it." He was so willing to help. He's like, "Elmer, use it. Don't duplicate it. Just copy up what I have. Just change up the name and everything, and go for it." So, love the community, guys.
That's
the whole
awesome.
Community aspect of it as well is the beauty of it to say, Jeff, I mean, other than just being helpful in nature, you are probably going to make the odd little change here and there, or you're going to realize something different. And who's one of the first people you're going to want to come back and bring that information to? Not only the community, but Jeff specifically. Hey, Jeff, I did change a few things up and look what I found. That's the power of community. And that's something that, again, over the last couple of years, especially, the real estate industry has changed. It once was a little bit more in, you know, collaboration, you know, sitting around in your offices, and a little bit more, you know, social in nature. I think that many of us have seen a little bit of a downturn in terms of the socialness of our industry, and having these groups, having these little collaborations, to me, it's so very important, not only for our own mental well-being, but again, the advancement of our ideas and our careers. So keep bringing your ideas, please keep collaborating. No need to keep things close to your chest. There's no need to have a scarcity mindset. Right? Think of how
we're not competing with each other here. So it's, you know, the mindset, I've been in the business for quite a while now, and the mindset used to be we didn't share anything because we were competing with our fellow brokers, and we didn't want them using our tools against us. I'm not competing with any of you guys. Even the people that are in Southern California is, you know, we're going to appeal to a different audience. So I'm not worried at all about Elmer or Jeff or anybody I've shared my buyer's package with or my seller's package with. Hey, knock yourselves out. I hope you succeed. That's what it's all about.
That's so key. There really is more than enough for everybody. And like, as soon as you get that, you'll suddenly see there's more than enough for everybody. And like, you can't outgive, you can't outshare. Like with this community, it's something special. And then this kind of naturally goes into, just as we're talking about, like seeing the bigger picture, seeing the conversions, is earnings per lead. Have you ever heard of that before? Earnings per lead? It's like your ROI. Like, this is when it gets really fun. If you're not a numbers person, like you don't really like, you're like, a math is math, and it's kind of whatever. This is the first time where numbers suddenly get really fun, because you're like, okay, well, if I've got this many leads coming in and this is what my earnings per lead is, the more leads I have, the more money I'm making from them. So if you can get, like, Jeff, do you know offhand what your ROI is?
I don't. I mean, I can tell you, Jonathan, that I've converted, and I'm fortunate because I'm here in Orange County where we've got a higher average sales price, but I've converted 6 leads, and it's been over 100,000 gross commission, and I know I haven't spent more than $15,000 on StreetText, and that's ad spend and subscription spend.
Okay, so that your earnings per lead is massive. So all you would do is take the 100,000 divided by 15 and 1,500, and you would have your earnings per lead. And that's how much money every single one of your leads is bringing you. And so if you were to, so you know that, and you know what your conversion rate is, and your conversion rate's only getting better because you're putting in the systems over time. This is where the long-term side of it starts to really play off well. Is you can actually look and you say, okay, yeah, I invested this much money up front on these leads, but I know that lead is actually worth to me. Let's say I spent $15 to get that lead, or $10 to get that lead, but that lead's actually worth to me $150. Well, I just made $135 just by bringing that person in. And if it's a future earning, because I know that's coming in 4 months, 3 months, 6 months, 8 months. So, you know, it's just like, imagine an investment, any investment you can make on the stock market where you can make that kind of ROI. It's crazy. And that's the opportunity that's like right in front of us today through Facebook. It's really crazy, but you got to ride it out long enough to see the return. So, and that was what Jeff was talking about as well at the beginning, because yes, you can get people, you will get everybody on Facebook. You get the person in your neighborhood who is ready to sell today, but you also get the person who's trying to understand the market and is preparing for next year. Or they're like, I know a move is coming to us and I'm not sure when, like we're changing careers and we know that we're going to, like, I'm not 100% sure. So you're getting that person as well. So you're going to have all three of them. You're going to get the person who's ready today, ready in a year, and ready tomorrow sometime, whenever that life change happens.
Or they're yeah, John, and I would say, or they're just ignorant, right? They, like, for example, I always give this example. Here in BC, we get an assessment in the mail. And the assessment that I got in the mail showed that my property value went up 67%. And so I looked at that and I was like, wow, my property's worth so much right now. But for the average homeowner, they would think that's the price of their home. But then if you have a professional come over and you do that full-blown comparative market analysis, you come to find out that actually the sales price in this market today is a couple $100,000 more than that even. So, but you guys all know that, but they don't. So you gotta present this information as an educational opportunity as you're generating leads, because for them, they don't know what they don't know. For you, you know everything, but for them, that's the beauty, is you want to share and educate and bring value. And so that's how you build your follow-up. That's how you build your automations. It's so powerful when you consider it that way.
Jeff, where are you in Orange County?
You got to unmute yourself there, Jeff.
I'm sorry, what'd you say, Janine?
Where are you in Orange County?
Well, I'm in Mission. I live in Mission Viejo. My offices are in Dana Point.
Oh, okay.
Oh gosh, love it there.
Yeah.
Hey, Marcus, just to follow up on your point, I think it's real important that, especially for newer people, they understand that this isn't really about taking and asking of our leads. This is about giving, and this is about being a value proposition to them. Because if you're continually asking for the order, that's old school. The hard close just doesn't work with these kind of leads. So you have to put yourself out there and provide value to them every time. And at some point they'll understand and use you as a resource and not see you as a vulture just circling overhead waiting to swoop. So important to have value propositions that you offer your clients all the time.
So powerful.
And that was what Marcus was speaking to earlier. We were talking this morning about rapport and facts. And a lot of people think facts and information and education sells people, but it actually doesn't, because I don't care about your facts, your education, or any of the things that you know until I know that you care about me and I actually like you. And then I use the facts that you're telling me to back up the hypothesis that I actually like you. So like, look at it as this, is like when someone clicks on your ad, now you have the opportunity to find your people. And like Jeff said, I don't care who I'm advertising to, because I know my people will get to know me. Why? Because he has a video in his first thing. And when he puts the video on, and if he's wearing his sports jersey on the video, I haven't even pressed play yet. And I'm like, this is my guy. Like we look, but you instantly, like right now, you're looking on this screen, there's probably people on here where you're like, I could be that person's friend. We have familiarity. I like this person. Like I always talk to Elmer about, he's just a fun person. Like, I'm like, I would just want to be around Elmer more because he's fun. So that's what we need to do. You want to grow in business, you need to build rapport. You don't need to like push facts down people's throat and tell them that you're the most like the person that's going to do it the best for them. You have to just show up and be you and give them a chance to get to know you. And then they're going to care about what it is you know. Then they're going to listen to those facts and everything. So a good Facebook ad creates questions. Questions create conversations. Conversation builds relationship. And relationship is how your business grows. And a lot of us, the lead comes through and we hear people all the time saying, these leads are crap. Like I called them. And when I called them, like they said they didn't even put their information in on the ad. Well, no, that's called defense mechanism. It's called, I wasn't expecting this thing to ring and for somebody to like jump down my throat about what I wanted. I was actually interested, but now I'm not interested because of the way that you approached it, or the way that you jumped down to get what you needed as opposed to serve me on what I asked for and needed. So people who do this well learn the art of maintaining conversations the long term. So it's like, how can I keep this conversation going a year from now and make a really good first impression when they click on that ad? And video and looking different and doing things different than everybody really helps there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And really
Curiosity, not interrogation. I'd say this one analogy real quick. It's like going to a doctor's office. The first thing they do when they meet you is they say, what can I help you with? And then you share. And then they say, okay, well, let's have a look. It's your foot. I'll take a look at your foot. And then they actually assess the situation before. That's actually the part where you're building trust. You're showing them you care. And then when you make the prescription at the end of it, well, you're like, oh, I'm going to listen to this person because they took the time to assess. I have 2 kids. I got two daughters. And whenever they like get injured, like their injuries are hilarious, but they get injured, the first thing I'll do is because they're so small, like they're not injured. And I'll the same thing. I'll be like, oh, your toe hurts. Let's have a look. Let's assess the situation. And then they're good because at the end of that, they know I care. So I'll give them a bandage and I'll put it on their toe and they're happy. They're good to go. But that's like the key thing is when you have somebody come to you and they're raising their hand and they're like, you know what? I have a listing in this market. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to get education. If we come across from a place of serve with value and we're asking them a question in a way that feels helpful and without feeling a little bit interrogative, they will be much more receptive to then inviting you into their home and having a showing or let's see what the comparative market analysis is. And at that point, like you've won. You're the first agent they've spoken to. You're the first person they've met. You've created trust from the out-go. And you've been consistent, and now they're on your automations. You've already got a relationship with them. It's just staying in touch with them until the time's right. Like that is leading the market. That is getting in front of anyone else. So back to you, Logan.
I was going to say, now we all have to show off our dogs, I guess. Yeah, dogs and kids always is. It's all anybody wants to look at. So what I was going to say, though, is understanding the nature of the leads. And you can be running the best ad ever, and you're never going to close 100% of the leads. It's just not going to happen. It's not realistic. Whether or not it's a defense mechanism, or sometimes somebody put in their neighbor's information. For instance, I want to know what my neighbor's home is worth right now. Maybe I go ahead and put their information in and see what information gets sent to me. You know, that does happen, but it's not going to be 100% of those either. So don't let the bad apples, so to speak, discourage you from going after the remaining individuals, and understand that out of every 100 leads that come through an ad, my anticipation is that there's 10% of those who are ready to act on something in a timely fashion. Can we get to all of them in a timely fashion ourselves and have them all like us and know us and trust us enough to move forward? Not necessarily, but that's the idea, is the 90% who aren't ready to make a move in a timely fashion are by far the most vocal. They're the ones who are more willing to reach back to you and say, hey, beat it, leave me alone. So as soon as you start getting some of those no's, that's, and Ira says it best, all the time, you're looking for no, you're trying to get no's. The more no's you get, the closer you are to your next yes, right? So don't let the no's discourage you. Just take that into consideration, the way that these people are responding to you, figure out a new way to go after them. But again, don't allow some negativity, corrupt the idea that the rest of these individuals are all the same. They're not. Right? So you're going to get some no's. That's perfectly fine. Again, if I'm looking to close 10%, that means 9 out of 10 people are going to tell me to beat it. That's fine. I don't need those 9. I need 1 out of 10. And if I'm closing 10% of my deals, I'm on the top of a metaphorical mountain. For anybody who's sold anything long-term, real estate specifically, I think you'd agree. If I can close 10% of my deals, I'm crushing it. But what does that mean? That leaves 90% of your leads aren't ready for you. Are they going to be ready in time? Absolutely. That's the nature of the drip campaigns. Let's keep nurturing them. They're going to tell me no now. They're going to forget they told me now in 3 months. So I'm going to have my drip campaigns going, unless they have unsubscribed, of course, right? But you get the general idea. Do not let, the odd bad apple spoil the rest of the bunch.
Yeah, I think it's you risk becoming transactional. And when you're transactional, that means that whatever comes in today, I need to close it today. And if it doesn't, my business is doing good, my business isn't doing well. But really, you should be thinking about what are the deals you're doing coming this fall. Like everyone's thinking about spring market. But if you have a career, you're actually thinking about summer and fall because you prepared for spring back in the beginning of the end of last year. So it's really like having a strategy to start lining conversations up. Because if you think that I have a conversation one time and I now have a sale, it's not going to go that well for us. Like, I just need to have one conversation. If I have one, I'll say, no, you need to talk to that person several times before you get to the part where I trust you and now I want to do business with you. So that means, have you started conversation 1 today? So that when you get to conversation number 9, 4 months from now, you're not like, where's my next deal coming from? It's already in the pipeline. I'm already lining up. And I think we're guilty of being transactional in our business, where we're not thinking about the future deals. We're so focused on the present, which can be easy to do because you have 101 things going on in a day, right, Elmer? I saw you unmuted. You wanted to jump in on it. Tell me.
Oh, yeah. Well, like, I just made a phone call of a lead that I got. I've been with you guys, I want to say about a month, and loving it. I got the lead, I called it, she hung the phone on me. It's like, no, I didn't request that. I called her today. The most pleasant lady ever. We had a conversation. I shot her a text message. She has my information. We have an appointment to talk later on today. So don't let those no's deter you from continuing to call them, because at the end of the day, it's going to take between 8 to 12 touches just for them to even be involved with anything. So guys, the worst thing they can say, it's no. I mean, keep it moving and let's go. So no, lovely lady, I promise you.
What about when they unsubscribe right away?
Just keep moving to the next one.
Just let it be.
Yeah.
Put on the John Lennon tune, let it be.
When they unsubscribe, I would remove them from any drip campaigns. If they've unsubscribed, I don't want to drip on them with impersonal information any longer. So they're absolutely unsubscribed. However, if it's you're using, the StreetText system, or I know you are, but anybody else who's using any other CRM, I would simply note the date and the nature of their message back, is just to say, hey, Janine unsubscribed on, April 5th. You're not getting any more drips from me, but I can guarantee you're going to forget that you unsubscribe from my drips in 2 to 3 months. So I'm probably going to text or email or send you something a little bit more personable in nature in a couple months, just to say, hey, you had requested some information in the past. Now, again, when it comes to do not, call lists and all that, of course, every area has its own restrictions. So information I'm giving you, take it with a grain of salt. And as always, if you're concerned at all with, going against any rules and regulations in your area, always go to your broker and just say, hey, this is what I'm looking to do, and get the better information that's more specific to your location. But to me, I think that if they've asked me removed from my drips or, unsubscribe, they're getting unsubscribed from all my drips that I currently have sent to that individual, but they're getting a personal reach out from me, text most likely within, I'd say, 2 to 3 months. And then same thing, if I'm talking to somebody and I get them on the phone, since we're talking about something in the same vein right now, they say, you know what, we're just not ready for this. This isn't what we're looking for right now. Hey, no problem. Do you mind if I contact you in the next few months? Or do you mind if I contact you if something comes up that I think you should know about? Whatever it is, give them something, and they're going to say, okay, yeah, that's fine. Just to get you off the phone. Cut that timeline in half and call them at that point. Yeah. Marcus, you had something you wanted to add there?
No, I think we're at the top of the hour, so we probably should draw the line right here. I think that was a perfect segue into, if you want to know more information, or you're here today, you have no experience with StreetText, do the trial, right? At least it gets you into the environment, you join the StreetText community. Hey, you don't even have to run ads if you don't want to. You can take it as a time to get to know us all, right? It's free outside of when you spend ads. And so we're big sticklers on not liking people spending money unless their ads are winning. That's number one. Number two, I think you'll quickly realize that it's the community, it's the collaboration, it's these type of meetings that really excite you. And so if you already have an experience or have had experience in the past and you want to come back, come on back. Like, we'll give you trial upon trial upon trial until you're ready to go. We're just looking for the right time. But if you are already in the community, then this reinforces while you're here. It's meetings like this that we do over and over again. So join us, come to the Facebook group if you're not a part of it already. It's a StreetText Insider. You can search for it. And send us a message of anything that really hit you today that you want to expand. Because as always, whenever we do these masterminds, take one thing. You might have learned a lot today, but take that one thing that made a difference in you and take action on that today.
Thanks, everyone.
And we'll see you on part 2 tomorrow. Mastermind tomorrow again.
Mastermind tomorrow. That's right. See you guys. Thank you.